Hi, I'm Devin. If you guys haven't gone on a trip to Mexico, I highly recommend it. This was my first year, and it was probably the most humbling experience that I've had. Um, it was kind of a spontaneous thing for me to go or decide to go, and Raina was the only person that I kind of knew. Um, I'm now happy to say that I know everyone, and we're all really close. Um, Something that I kind of wanted to share that I took away from the trip was something that Mitch had kind of mentioned, and Raina and I shared a similar experience in this. Was when I was in Mexico, I learned kind of the people showed me like a different way to live. Like you could walk down the street, like Mitch had said, and people would just say hi to you. And when that happened, um, they kind of connected with you, and you could see that they took such joy in life. Like they would come to our site and they wouldn't even know us, and they would just start helping. Like they're such nice people, and you could tell that they took joy in what they did. And when you saw them do that, and taking delight in a stranger's company, you kind of start to realize, like Raina had mentioned, how much you put on yourself in our daily lives. And if I could say that I took home one thing from Mexico, I would say that it was that I learned to be more lax with my daily routines and to not stress about the insignificant things in life, because there are bigger things to worry about. So I just wanted to share that.
Hi, my name's Kyle, and generally speaking, my favorite thing about this trip was the happiness you get when when the houses are done and you give them to the families. And like Ryan said, you don't necessarily get a reward or a specific thank you straight to you, since there were so many people there. But instead, we nail a sun onto the house with all of our names signed on the back, and that's the final piece of the house before we give them to the families. And the smile you get from them, and oftentimes like tears of joy, is so much more rewarding than any thank you or any reward you could get. So that small part of the trip was my favorite part. Specifically speaking, my favorite part was a conversation I had with Nachita, which my group built a house for Nachita. And she told me her whole life story in 10 minutes, and she told me about her 10 children, her 20 grandchildren, and her 15 nieces and nephews, and gave me like a little story about each one of them, and their full names, which are really long, and their ages, and she must have talked about 25 kids, and she gave me a little tidbit about every one of them, and it really showed me the family ties that they have there and how strongly bound their community is, and it was just really nice to hear how much love there was in between all their families. We only built the house for a single person, Nachita, but when she passed away, she will give the house to her many family members, which will be very grateful for it.
My name is Brent. This was my first mission to Mexico trip, but not my first mission trip. It was a lot of fun. I made some new friendships and strengthened some old ones. It made a big difference in my life, and I'm sure it did in everyone else's. I got to wire a house, which was a lot of fun. And I remember passing the final nail to Dan and said, "That's the one we've been looking for." And he said, "Which one's that?" And I said, "The last one."
I'm Alex. I've been watching the microphone go down and listening to people, and then I realized, oh, I have to talk too. So I've come up with something to talk about. I think it's pretty great that we can go down and in 3 days completely change someone's life and build them a house that they'll be able to use for the rest of their lives that's better than any other house or any place that they've lived in. And it, you know, it's not really that big of a deal for us, like just spring break. And for them, it's their whole lives that we change. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Megan. This is my first year going to Mission to Mexico. One thing that I really took from this trip was when we were building the houses, all the neighborhood kids would come and watch what we're doing. And I'm kind of small and I look like them, and I got confused as one of them many times. And one of the leaders on our site, Mike, we were inside the house plastering, and he was just asking me, "So, are you from the orphanage or are you from a church?" And I was very confused. I couldn't understand, and then I didn't say anything, so he thought I didn't know English. And so, but anyways, also another thing, when we were inside painting, the neighborhood kids would come and help paint, and it made them feel really special too, like they were contributing, because I'm not sure if they know the lady that we were building for, but I just thought it was really special that even they could help us out too.
Hi there, I'm Rhett, and I get really nervous when I talk in front of people. I have plenty of stuff to talk about, but I'll try and condense it a lot. One thing that I love about this group, and that I miss back at my school, is that all the inside jokes we have. I'll say stuff like party foul, and everyone will go, "You have no idea what that means." Neither do the thousands of kids at my school. But when we're in this group, it's great. We have so much fun. We have all these bonds. We have all these inside jokes that I don't have with anyone else, and that makes it really special. Another thing that I'd like to bring up is an embarrassing story about LJ. So, we stayed in a town, very, very small town, called Francisco de Murguia. All right. So I know it was like Francisco something or other. We also stayed at an orphanage at night called El Faro, which, for those of you who speak Spanish, know that means the lighthouse. So LJ, for a week and a half at school, he was telling everyone that he went to this Mission to Mexico trip, and it was so great, and people would always ask where he stayed, and he would say El Faro. So he stayed for a week in Mexico at a lighthouse. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. But on a serious note, in Mexico, you make so many great connections, whether it's with the people who went on the trip with you, with the people from another church who you meet there, or from the people who you may not even be able to understand. You may speak totally different languages, come from totally different worlds, but you still make this profound connection. And one of the things that you'll find in this community is, even though they have so little, they can give so much. And there was a group of neighborhood kids that really enjoyed hanging out with us, really loved to help, loved to do everything they could. So we gave them some scraps one day, just gave them a bunch of pieces of 2x4s, hammers and nails, and looking back on that, 6-year-olds with hammers and nails maybe isn't the best idea, but it was fun at the time. And they did it, and we kind of let them do their own thing. We worked on the banyo, we worked on the house, and a couple hours later, we come by, and there's a chair. And a bunch of 5, 6, maybe 7-year-olds had just built a chair out of pieces of scrap metal and nails, and they showed us they'd sit on it, they'd do this and that, they'd take turns. And it was really inspirational to see that they come from so little, and even at such a young age, they give back so much. And Sometimes it's the little things in Mexico. Sometimes it's the little things that that make the biggest difference. And that's what I have to share about Mission to Mexico.